You say it's done. You tell yourself it's yours. You try to stay in that state. But then, you check. You check your phone. You check for a message. You check for movement. You check if something changed, even subtly, even casually, even just for a second. And it feels harmless. It feels normal, like you're just seeing what's happening. But that moment is everything. Because checking is not neutral. It carries a position, a very clear one. If it was done, I wouldn't need to check. And that position is what you reinforce every time. So even if you affirm, even if you try to stay aligned, if you keep checking, you keep confirming, it's not here yet. And that confirmation is what repeats, not your words, not your intention, your behavior. Because behavior reveals belief, not what you say, what you do. And if what you do is check, then what you're showing is you're still looking for proof, still looking for something external, to confirm something internal. And that keeps the cycle going, over and over again. Checking feels small, insignificant, like it doesn't really matter. But structurally, it does something very specific. Every time you check, you interrupt the state. You move out of, it's done, and into, let me see if it's done. And that shift is everything. Because now you're no longer in the position of having. You're in the position of looking, observing for confirmation, waiting for evidence. And that position recreates the gap between you and what you want. Because if you're looking for it, you're not in it. If you're checking for it, you don't feel like you have it, even if it's quick, even if you go right back. That moment of checking resets the structure back to not yet. And when that happens repeatedly, that becomes the baseline. Not the moments where you felt aligned, the moments you repeated. And checking is usually repeated more often than the state of certainty. So the dominant pattern becomes looking, waiting, monitoring. And that's what reflects. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're being consistent, consistently checking, consistently confirming. It's not here yet. So the system stabilizes around that. Not around it's done, around I need to see it first. And as long as that's active, you keep looking. And as long as you keep looking, you keep reinforcing the same position, which keeps everything the same, not delayed, just consistent. You don't check because you want to, you check because something feels incomplete, unsettled, like there's still something you need to confirm. So your attention goes outward, not randomly, automatically, because your system is looking for closure, for proof, for something that says it's real now. And until that feeling is there, checking continues, even if you tell yourself not to, even if you try to stay disciplined, even if you say, I'm not going to check anymore, because the urge isn't coming from habit. It's coming from position, a position where something still feels separate, unfinished, not fully yours yet. And from that position, checking feels logical. It feels justified. Because if something isn't fully yours, of course you're going to look for it. Of course you're going to see if it showed up. Of course you're going to monitor it. That's the natural behavior of not having. So the issue isn't you lack discipline. The issue is you're still in a state that produces checking. And that's why forcing yourself to stop doesn't work. Because now you create tension. You're aware of the urge. You're resisting it. You're trying not to act on it. But the urge is still there, still active, still pulling your attention outward. And that means the structure didn't change. Only the behavior. And behavior alone doesn't shift identity. So even if you manage to stop checking physically, you're still checking mentally, still wondering, still looking, still waiting for confirmation. And that's enough to keep the loop going because the position hasn't changed. There is a state where checking doesn't even come up. Not because you're resisting it, because there is no reason to. In this state, you're not wondering. You're not looking. You're not thinking. Let me see if it happened. Because internally, it already feels settled. Not forced. Not repeated. Not maintained. Just done. And when something feels done, your attention doesn't go toward it. You don't monitor it. You don't track it. You don't revisit it. Because there's nothing to confirm. Think about anything in your life. That is already certain. You don't check it constantly. You don't look for proof of it. You don't wake up and ask, is this still true? Because it's stable, integrated, natural. And this state is the same. It's not about convincing yourself. It's not about repeating affirmations all day. It's about reaching a point where it feels normal, where it feels obvious, where it doesn't require attention anymore. And once it reaches that point, checking disappears on its own. Because there is no internal gap. Nothing feels missing. Nothing feels uncertain. Nothing feels like it needs confirmation. So attention stays where it is, not pulled outward, not searching, not waiting. And from that position, everything stabilizes. Because you're no longer interrupting the state. You're no longer resetting it. You're no longer confirming, not yet. You're simply remaining where it already feels done. And that's what allows everything to reflect. Not effort, not control, stability. Now it's obvious. Checking was never helping. It wasn't speeding anything up. It wasn't making things happen faster. It was resetting the position. Back to, let me see if it's here. And that position is what kept repeating. Not your intention, not your affirmations, your behavior. Because every time you checked, you confirmed, it's not here yet, even for a second. And those seconds add up. They become the dominant pattern. Looking, waiting, monitoring, instead of having. But now, that changes. Because you see it clearly. You don't need to force yourself to stop checking. You don't need discipline. You don't need control. Because the urge itself loses its foundation. Once something feels done, there is nothing to check, nothing to confirm, nothing to look for. So the shift isn't stop checking. The shift is no longer being in a state that requires checking. A state where it already feels settled, already feels natural, already feels yours. And from that identity, checking becomes irrelevant, not resisted, irrelevant. You're no longer the one looking, you're the one who already has. And from that position, there is nothing left to monitor. Everything follows that. If this landed, anchor it. Comment, "It's done, I don't check."